Welcome back to part 3 of Take Charge of the Classroom. In this episode of our web series, we are looking at procedures. And one thing we need to know about procedures, or routines, whatever you want to call them, is they're not restrictive, but they actually liberate our students. Many teachers shy away from being really focused on procedures and routines because they don't want to be that teacher. They don't want to be the teacher that is so structured that they kind of order their kids around. And that's not what we're trying to do with procedures and routines. We're not necessarily trying to order students around. We are simply showing them how things are done. And once students know how things are done, that's very freeing and liberating for them. Now, where are we in the large picture? Remember, in our Take Charge model, we are using the immediate impact sequence. So we just looked at relationships. Now we're looking at procedures from the lens of a teacher. So what can the teacher do? What are some teacher actions that can be taken in order to buckle down on procedures and make sure that we can anticipate problems and head them off before they come to fruition? I would estimate 80 to 85% of our classroom management problems would disappear if we really taught procedures and routines and we reinforce them consistently. It's not the teaching that's the problem, it's the coming back and reinforcing them again and again and again. Now, why are procedures and routines so important that they are the second thing we're talking about right after relationships? It all comes down to consistency. Routines are simply expected behaviors. Now, there are many routines that you can look at. A few examples might be, how do you enter into the classroom? Where do you put your homework? What time is that homework due? How does the classroom start? Is there a bell ringer? Do the students sit and wait for the teacher to stand up and start teaching? Is there some type of task that they should immediately work on? Are they late if they're not in their seat by the time the bell rings, or can they simply be in the doorway? How quickly do they need to unpack? All of these questions are answered with routines because these questions are actually questions that students are asking. They're wondering, what do I do in this classroom? How do I sharpen my pencil? How do I get the teacher's attention? Can I just get up and use the restroom anytime I want to? Is there a log that I need to sign? Is there a pass? Is there a maximum number of students that can use the restroom at a time? Any question that you can ask about how things are done in your classroom, that means it needs to be responded to with a routine. And when we teach our students how things are done in our classroom, it actually frees up their mind and liberates them because it reduces their anxiety. Students bring anxiety in with them, and a lot of it we can't have any control over because it comes with them from their home life and their domestic situation. But what we can do is reduce the anxiety in our classrooms. And when they know the routine for everything, for sharpening their pencil, for getting a drink of water, for turning in their homework, what happens if their classwork is not finished? Do they turn it in incomplete, or do they finish their homework and turn it in by the next day? When all of these questions are answered, then it reduces their anxiety. They know what to do, and that frees up brain space for them to do more important things like learning, engaging in high-level content, discussing the content with their peers. But if they don't know what is expected of them, if they don't know certain signals for getting the student's attention to call the class back, then it's going to produce this anxiety because it shifts. It might make sense to you, but it doesn't matter if your expectations make sense to you. It only matters if it makes sense to the students. And they come in and out of classrooms every single day. If you're in middle school or high school, they could have 7 to 8 classrooms a day, and every single classroom could have a different set of routines and expectations. Even if they're elementary students, every year is different. So we need to make sure that our students know what is expected. We clearly explain the expectations and the keys, and that we make sure that they know what is expected of them every single time they walk into the classroom, because our brains seek patterns. And when they know what is expected, when they know when things are supposed to be turned in, when they're supposed to be quiet, when they're supposed to turn and talk, when they can find these patterns, it, like I said, it frees up mental space for them. Now, in our last episode, episode 2, we looked at the question, am I loved? And we said students need to have this question answered in the affirmative before they're ready to learn. There is a second question, am I safe? These are the two questions that students need answered every single day. They are subconscious. They are not necessarily ones they're going to verbalize. But am I loved comes down to the relationships that they have with you. Am I safe comes down to your procedures and routines. Do they know what the expectations are? Is your classroom some kind of wild jungle experience to where it's every man for himself? Or is it clear? Is it orderly? Do the students know how to line up? Do they know what to do with even putting their heading on their paper, when to open up their books, when they can use their notes, when they can't use their notes, when they can work with a partner, when they can't work with a partner? All of these questions need to be answered, and the more that you can clearly explain your routines, your procedures, your expectations, it reduces their anxiety and it opens them up to learning. So one particular procedure that I want to make sure we buckle down on is the safe place procedure. All of those other ones that I've mentioned, coming into the classroom, using the restroom, getting a drink of water, sharpening the pencil, turning in homework, those are ones you've probably already tried. The key with those is not just introducing them, but practicing them again and again and again. When it starts to slip, you've got to keep coming back again and again and again. And it seems like it's going to be a little bit repetitive, but our brains naturally forget. And our problem in general in education is not that we don't teach procedures and routines, it's that we don't consistently reinforce them. We don't need to blame the kids. If they forget how to do something 3 weeks after we teach them, just teach them again, and then just teach them again, and then just teach them again. But there's one procedure that is going to be the hub of taking charge of the classroom, and that's the safe place procedure. So this is one I'll actually want to go through, and you can take this particular model of how you break it down step by step, and you can apply it to any procedure and routine that you are building in your classroom. So a safe place is a physical location that you build for your students. It's going to have some flexible seating. It's going to have an emotions poster, maybe a mood meter, and then it's going to have some tactile objects, some calming things, whether it be a glitter jar, some type of sequin pillow, something that they can touch. What we want students to do is to be able to go to this place and learn to calm themselves and regulate themselves on their own, because this is going to hit your other 10 to 15% of the behaviors that are not covered by the routines and procedures. When they just get upset, when they're feeling down, when they're feeling disconnected, what do? You see a lot of kids, they'll put their hood up over their head, they'll put their head down. That means emotionally, it's just not working for them. They're not feeling safe, they're not feeling loved, they're not learning. So teach them to go to this safe place. So once you've built a safe place, and you can just Google it, there's tons of ideas on Pinterest or Instagram or Teachers Pay Teachers about a safe place. Some people call it a calming corner, some people call it a chill zone. But what's the procedure? You break it down step by step for students. So when you are feeling safe, when you're not feeling safe, when you're feeling upset or overwhelmed, step one for the students is to go there. This means that this place cannot be used for punishment. It is not a timeout place. It is not a secondary library center or a reading corner. It is for one place and one place only, and it is to regulate your emotions. So you need to only associate it with that. For this first step in this procedure is that students go there when they're feeling upset or overwhelmed. Second, they select and use a breathing practice. Now, if you're not breathing with your students on a regular basis, then this is not going to make any sense. So part of this, an assumption here, is that you're doing daily, regular breathing practices with your students. Once again, use some Google, some YouTube, GoNoodle, whatever you want to do. Get the kids used to breathing, because breathing just helps calm and center them. So this procedure here is they go to the safe place. They select and use a breathing procedure when they are upset or overwhelmed. They identify their emotions. That's third. That's where that mood meter or that emotions poster with emojis is going to be very helpful. Because if you can name your emotions, you take away their power. Naming something, and we get this from neuroscience, and we get this from a lot of cognitive psychology, simply naming emotions, labeling something, reduces our anxiety. So students identify their emotions. I'm feeling upset because someone took this away from me. Then they choose a calming activity. Could be a pinwheel, could be a sequin pillow, could be just some type of tactile activity that they're playing with, right? It takes a little bit of, when they're emotionally upset, you can't breathe 5 times and then leave. It actually takes a little while for the chemicals to stop coursing through your body. So they choose a calming activity, they kind of chill out. The last part is they ask for help if needed. Whatever sent them into the calming corner or the safe place or the chill zone, whatever you want to call it, it's still waiting for them outside. Maybe they can solve themselves, but maybe they need to go to you. But imagine if you can train your kids to use this procedure when they are upset, and how many blow-ups and meltdowns you can eliminate because they are taught to regulate their emotions. This is a key procedure for taking charge of the classroom. And these 5 steps here break down any other procedure that you want to teach to your students, whether it be lining up, whether it be using the restroom, getting the teacher's attention, anything. Break it down into actionable steps, practice it again and again, make it visual so the students can see it. Many students fail in school because they simply do not know what to do. Procedures. Teach them the expected behaviors. When you do that, you're going to eliminate so many problems. There's going to be just a few left. How we deal with those, that's what we're going to talk about in our next episode. So thank you for watching this. You can, as always, get on my website, aarondaffern.com/takecharge, learn more about the web series, learn more about the book. You can email me, or you can follow me at Aaron Daffern.